All right, ladies, get your tea. This is Mocha Mommy coming at you with another video. And listen, the Hoteps are about to be mad about me on this one, okay? The Hoteps are going to get mad about this one. So I hope that it stays up and does not get flagged. Now, my experience with this whole Hotep culture, I got my first real exposure to it around 18. I was a freshman at Howard University in Washington, D.C., and that's when I kind of realized that women with things like good reading comprehension skills and high self-esteem is real problematic for that population. So I'm just going to try to kind of go over with you some of the rhetoric that they've been weaponizing, and then how you can best maneuver through that, and how you can, I'm not trying to be a heretic, I'm not trying to impose religion on anyone, but I just want to kind of give you a couple of tools and some biblical context in the academic sense, right? So that you can sort of edify yourself against some of this ideology that they're weaponizing, especially here on YouTube, okay? First, shout out to Successful Ladies Live and her platform. This kind of came up from a video that she did a couple weeks back. She's doing a series called Safe and Single. And she's really just kind of advocating on behalf of Black women who are actively choosing to stay single. So this one that she brought up was by a Hotep who was talking a little bit about the Jezebel spirit, right? Jezebel, who was the wife of Ahab, okay? Now, we have to understand that Jezebel is something that constantly Black women get associated with, right? She was a loose, godless woman who basically influenced and ruined the entire kingdom of Israel. Now, let's talk a little bit about who Jezebel was. You have to understand that Ahab was the king of Israel. He had the lineage. He had the legacy. He had the responsibility of caring for his kingdom and guiding his people. And he decides to coronate Jezebel of Sidon, right? Not a woman from his people, not a woman of his tribe, but right? This woman who is technically today would have been considered like Lebanese, right? Now, how many times have we seen these men coronate these foreign Jezebels and then get upset when Black women follow suit? And then you'll wonder why your kingdom's all messed up. You'll wonder why your kingdom's all run amok. Now, during the Motown era, when Black music began to cross over and became more mainstream, Barry Gordy was very, very careful and very conscious of the Black woman that he was putting out for consumption for America. He made sure that they were always sophisticated, well covered, and didn't gyrate too much. But then take that into the 90s, the next generation, the Gen Xers, when they got in charge of things. Who were the women that they promoted, right? The Lil Kims from Bad Boy, right? She probably had to be the queen of probably Black music at that point. Of all the talented rappers, talented female rappers that were coming out of New York at the time, this is who you decided to coronate. What about No Limit? Out there in the South, Mia X, the ratchets like Mia X. What about on the West Coast? You had these hyper-masculine women like Lady of Rage. And in the South, you had the Missy Elliott's and the Bratz, even though I love their music, I love them, but that hyper-masculine image. It's almost like they don't know what they want. They sure enough didn't want the sophisticated Black woman. But when you put the ratchets, when you put the Jezebels, when you put the hyper-masculine, these are the same men who promoted these women and now are complaining. It's like those scriptures that talk about being double-minded, tossed to and fro by every wind and wave of doctrine. Think about it. In 1990, I was doing my first cotillion. So here I am, learning how to walk in high heels, wearing white gloves, with a pressing curl, having to be careful not to sweat too much. You know what the #1 song on the radio was at that time? It was Around the Way Girl by LL Cool J. So growing up in Queens, I'm being told that they want a girl with extensions in her hair, bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair, a Fendi bag, and a bad attitude. And now, even though I was being raised up, doing cotillions, learning how to sit and walk in heels, Now I'm being told by these same men who told me they wanted an around the way girl that they tired of these women, materialistic black women, wanting name brands and all this jewelry with all this fake hair and bad attitudes. That same group of men. One of the reasons why Hotep men will never have my respect as someone who is a believer in the Bible is because I am not to trust men who are double-minded. I am not to trust men who are indecisive. I am not to believe or be a helpmeet to those men who do not understand the importance of their word being their bond. So if you going around changing goalposts, understand that there are women that will not respect the man that you are. So everything you are reaping, you are sowing. So you know what? The woman came from the man's rib, and I completely believe that. But if all you getting is a bunch of Section 8 dwelling, food stamp collecting, broke 300-pound bone queashes, that's because that's a reflection of the man that you are. So if I am to be your helpmeet, I am supposed to support you in having dominion over the earth, not being a perpetual victim. I will not co-sign under any circumstance on your mediocrity because that is not what I have been brought here to do. So understand why you do not have the respect and the submission that you are requiring. And how dare you ask for biblical submission when you don't even give me the honor of biblical marriage? That is why your women do not respect you. And speaking of helpmeets, Adam and Eve, why is it that when you read the book of Genesis, the longest conversation Eve has is with a snake? Where was he during this time? She was new on the earth and she didn't get the rules yet. Not that that exempts her from responsibility, because clearly she was not exempt from responsibility, right? But I always kind of wondered that. And then you know why Adam got kicked out too? For blame shifting, right? This woman you put here with me. So blame shifting has never been looked at as holy. Now, I am not one to go and start arguments, to go and start fights. I'm not giving you this information so that you can go up in their lives or go into their comment sections, because these are men who've made up their minds. When their feet hit the ground and they woke up out of bed this morning, they already made up the mind what kind of man that they want to be. So that's not for you to argue. But this is what I will say. Titus chapter 2 tells me as an older woman to instruct younger women, and tells you as a man that you need to instruct younger men. Okay? So leave my job to me, because every minute that you're doing my job is a minute that you're not doing yours. So until you round these boys up, don't be talking to these women's faces, and women, don't be calling up their lives. Don't be asking them for advice. Okay? Because Proverbs 10 men don't get Proverbs 31 women. All right? And you notice the husband in Proverbs 31 is getting respect from the elders at the gate. What is he doing in your kitchen? Telling you what you need to be doing. He's in no position to do that. And that is why I am saying to you, for your own edification, when they come at you with these weapons, know how to defend yourself. Now, let's talk a little bit about this Samson and Delilah, because this is another one that they use against you, right? That these conniving women kind of come in there and they make you weak, and they exploit your secrets, and they exploit your weaknesses, right? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. You know, Samson, you're going to find him in the book of Judges, right? Around chapters 14, chapter 16, where he's kind of God's anointed warrior, right? You have to understand that they were under 40 years of Philistine oppression, and he is the one who was given the strength to, I guess, overcome the oppression that the people of Israel were facing. But guess what he decided to do? He has a conversation with his mother in Judges 16 because he wants to marry a Philistine woman. He wanted to be with the daughter of the oppressors. What does that sound like? Okay, and his mother says to him, of all the tribes of Israel, this is who you choose? And he said, she is pleasing to me. And that's exactly what he did. That's how they found out his strength. They tried to use her to set him up. And then guess what? When it didn't work, you know what else they tried to do? When he went to the whorehouse, right? Because he was a frequenter of that place. They tried to jump him when he was unsuspecting. And then when they couldn't do that, what do? They go to the region of Sorak. Sorak is a drainage ditch, right? It's a drainage area that's right outside of Jerusalem, which is right now currently the Gaza Strip. That's right. They literally went to the gutter and paid this woman to go out and find out what was going on with Samson. Now, why does your enemy know that all they got to do is catch you outside of whorehouses and pay some woman from the gutter to get you off of your task that you were anointed to do? That's the deeper question, isn't it? So you can blame Delilah all you want for being conniving, but you know what? She was doing what she was paid to do. Why is it that your enemy knows that you don't have the strength to, one, choose your woman, or two, have the strength to be sexually disciplined? Then we can get on Deborah in Judges chapter 4, right? She was a judge and was told the leader of the army, who at the time was Barak, that he needed to take 10,000 soldiers to go and defeat Sisera. He says, well, I'm too scared. I need you to go with me. Deborah says, understand that your victory will be delivered unto your women. Now, there's a lot of Deborahs in our community, right? We saw it, especially this summer. And we've seen it in past generations. And then what happens? The victory gets delivered unto your women. And then after that, what happened after Deborah won in that war? 7 years later, the Midianites saw them as weak because they were being led by women, and then went and took over them again. What we have to do is stop this cycle. You cannot fight their battles for them. Jonah needed that time in the belly of the whale. David needed that time in the wilderness, and Jesus needed that time in the desert. Sometimes at your lowest point is the time that you need to learn a lesson. Rock bottom is a solid foundation on which to build your future, right? So you gotta let them figure these things out themselves. You know, the very first divested woman, I believe, was in 1 Samuel chapter 25, right? By the name of Abigail. Abigail was married to Nabal, who was a fool. And the whole world saw the foolishness for what it was. Abigail had decided when he committed some foolish acts that she was going to pack up what was hers and rectify and save her home. You notice she didn't take any weapons out of his arsenal. She took no money from his coffers. She packed up what was her handiwork. That's why it's going to go over how many casks of wine, how many dressed sheep, how many cakes of figs and raisins, right? That's why it's going to go over her handiwork, because what I want you to do, Black women, is to be on your game, to be about your business, to be about your handiwork, and to be about what your mission is, because what's not appreciated by a fool will be valued by a king, and fools will have their day. That's why I don't want you to get involved in these arguments, in these judgments, and fall victim to some of the traps that they're setting for you, using the Bible that you were raised up on, using the scriptures that you hold sacred. Okay, what I want you to do is study these things out for yourself and for your own personal edification, so that these people can't use it to attack who it is you are and the woman it is you aspire to be. Listen, this is about protecting your peace. Proverbs 26 talks about the perils of arguing with fools. It is not worth your time and energy. This is really about you and what your goals and your mission and what you want out of life. Don't let this disturb you, distract you, or hurt you. So let them coronate their foreign Jezebels. Let them blame shift. Let them keep on stirring in their own foolishness. But what I want you to do is to edify yourself, no matter what your spiritual background is. And know that there is justice in this world. And it doesn't always have to be enacted by you. Take this time to practice the radical self-care that you need to be the woman that you aspire to be. This is Mocha Mommy, wishing you love, peace, and prosperity. Thank you.